Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jessica Yunanda Bahtiar, and for now we are gonna explain about manner of articulation. From the first presenter is Jessica Yunanda Bahtiar, the second presenter is Umi Riya, the third presenter is Rika Tiwi, and the fourth Iftin and Ros, and the last one is Syifa. If we talk about manner of articulation, is how the airstream is obstructed to produce consonant sounds. While if we talk about place of articulation, is the where the sounds are produced, and the manner of articulation is how the sound are produced. So there are 6 of manner of articulation that we would look at. The first one is stop. Stop are sounds produced by blocking the airstream completely and then releasing it in a burst of air. Just by the name describe it, stops are sound that can be prolonged, but they just happened and then they stopped. Let me give you an example. So we have these two p and p. Those are sound that just occur once, but they cannot be stretched out. They cannot be prolonged. And how these sounds are produced, both of these sounds are produced basically in the same manner. Your lips close, and then at the same time there is build up of air that's coming from your lung, and the air is up until it released. There is a burst of air and a little explosion happens, and that's where p comes in or b comes in. For the example, p, pay, happy, tap, bay, abby, tap. And there are more stops in the English language. We have these two, t and t. The difference is that for these sounds, you have the tip of the tongue approaching the alveolar ridge and holding that air. T for top, acted, and bat. Taste, abandon, and bat.
Then fricatives. Based on Birjandi's book, fricative is the type of consonants that is formed by forcing air through a narrow gap in the oral cavity that a hissing sound is created. Here are the voiceless sounds that are fricatives. We have fa, tha, sa, sha, and ha sounds. And the examples are fa in fin, fa in faith, tha in faith, tha in thin, sa in house, sa in sin, sha in she, sha in shin, ha in house, ha in hat. Then we have voiced sounds that are fricatives. Va, the, za, and ja sounds. Va in van, va in vase are fricatives. The in that, the in the are fricatives. Za in zoo and za in zebra are fricative. Ja in genre and garage are fricative.
My name is Rika Tiwi, and I'm gonna continuing the explanation. So we got affricates. A fricate is a stop and its immediately following release into a fricative that I considered to constitute a single phoneme, such as t, s, of, ch. The example is for ch is check and cheap, and the voice is ch, 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 ch in jump and cheap, ch, jump, cheap, something like that. And the next we got liquid. So the initial sounds in LED and red are described as liquid. They are bird voiced. The L sound is called a lateral liquid and is formed by letting the airstream flow around the side of the tongue as the tip of the tongue makes contact with the middle of the alveolar ridge, while the R sound at the beginning of red is formed with the tongue tip raised and curled back near the alveolar ridge.
The next is nasals. Nasal refers to a consonant produced with complete closure in the oral cavity along with a lowered phlegm to allow airflow through the nasal cavity. When the phlegm raised, it means preventing airflow from entering the nasal. But when the phlegm lowered, it means airstream flow through nose. There are three consonants of nasals. The first is It is categorized as bilabial nasal. The mouth is configured just as for the corresponding bilabial stop p and b. The lips are pressed tightly together. The air builds up and is suddenly released. The second consonant of nasal is n, which is categorized as dental or alveolar nasal. The mouth is configured just as for the corresponding dental or alveolar stop t and d. The tongue makes contact either with the front teeth or with the alveolar ridge directly above them. The third consonant of nasals is ng. Ng is when the letter N appear before the letter K and G. Ng is categorized as velar nasal. The configuration of the mouth is very close to that of the corresponding velar stop k and g. These three consonants are voiced. For example, nose, brain, and mouth.
Well, thanks for giving me time to present about clydes. Clydes is also can be described as approximant or semi-vowels. This clyde is defined as how the sound is produced with a little obstruction of the airstream. And actually, there are two sounds of clydes in English. They are W and Y. W for the word like one or we or wait and so on and so forth. And this one, we know like the sound of W is sounds like the semi-vowel because in this class also have to be followed by vowels. In this, from the example, we know that like one and we, the next sounds after the clydes is vowels like E and A. And it's also happen in the Y, like the word yes, you, or yet. And these two words like yes and you, the next glides is followed by vowels. and to pronounce them is by moving tongue to or from a vowels. And we know that even though there are vowels in their articulation, but the sounds are consonant because they cannot function as nucleus of syllables.